So Flow acts as a facilitator. We even use the Pradhan Mantri Hunar Rozgar Yojana to skill it. We find the trainers. But we only start training once we have a corporate commitment to employ the women. So in each of your organizations, there will be a possibility to employ more women in certain sectors. We would love you to tell us. For example, we've tied up with Group 4 Security, and they have promised us 10,000 jobs over the next 3 years. And we have tied up with a security training organization which use the government skill development funds, and we have started skilling women in security. We particularly picked that up because women's security is such a big issue in the country. And here we are converting women from disadvantaged backgrounds into people looking for security, to people who are providing security to others. So this is so one is, we would love you to employ these women as security guards in your organizations. Similarly, if you have jobs even for 10th pass women or 12th pass women or even graduates, if we could do a national tie-up for any kind of job, we could certainly look at skilling and providing you the women. So this is one of the initiatives we've taken up is We in Education, where more than 200 schools have already come on board. The support staff employed by school, there are many men in those jobs. We think that if women did a lot of those jobs, it's good for the students, and it's a good job for a woman in terms of timing, environment, etc. So the jobs we identified in schools, which are largely being done by men today, are security guards, which is where the security guard initiative came from, bus drivers, bus conductors, canteen, and some housekeeping. So we have tied up with organizations to train, and more than countrywide, we've had launch programs for this We in Education. Schools have come forward and pledged that they will employ more women. So it's very much on board, and this is something we are very proud of that we are doing. Then along with that, we are doing We in Transport. We've tied up with Maruti Driving Schools, who have pledged 1,500 free trainings for us right till the bus driver level. And we already have more than 300 women in training across the country. All the chapters have taken this up. They are completing their first license, and then Apollo Hospitals has promised them valet parking jobs. Fortis has promised valet parking jobs. And we're in talks with taxi companies and with BPO. Many of you would have availability as pick up and drop facilities for your employees. This could be a very good job for a woman who we managed to train till the commercial vehicle level. So that is another. The other thing we've picked up is industrial parks for women, women's industrial parks, which are dedicated to women-owned enterprises. The first one has been earmarked in Telangana, and in Bangalore they've earmarked some 300 acres. In Sanand they've earmarked some place, and we have in principle commitments by the chief ministers of Uttar Pradesh, of Punjab, and of Haryana. So this again we believe will bring more women into the thing. If you have facilities for offering ancillaries, women business owners, if you have facilities for, if you require them for ancillaries, we would be glad to tie up the women who would be taking up land here to your organizations. Then Swayam is something which we are launching formally on 10 September. This is a mentorship and a consultancy cell where Flow members will act as mentors to any women who want to set up businesses. Flow members or anybody who wants to offer their services on a voluntary basis. We have set up panels in 15 locations of about 40 or 50 mentors each, and we are talking to colleges for students or even other women's groups to help them set up. We've tied up with SIDBI and SBI for financing, venture capital financing and regular financing. Women corporate directors. Flow, we have 4,000 members. I think about 3,000 of them are directors. So we're probably the largest group of women directors in the country. Most of them are directors on family boards, and many of them, frankly, are not very active directors. So we are carrying out programs to train them to be better directors, make them more aware of their duties and their liabilities, and also to identify from them a pool of women who might be suitable for to act as independent directors in other companies. We are creating a lot of international linkages, tying up with business organizations abroad, and also sharing best practices. So that is another thing that we are bringing to the table in India. We're doing a campus outreach program, a Gram Yojana. In certain chapters have adopted villages, looking at technology as a solution to solving some of the problems on the ground. So thank you very much. And another issue I'd like to bring up here is we are thinking of trying to create a paper on suggestions about women's access to finance. So many bankers are there. This is something very important because women borrow much less than the number of enterprises they run, both in terms of the number of enterprises which borrow and the amounts they borrow relative to the size of the enterprise. So we are looking forward to cooperation from all the people who are in the banking sector to share their experiences so that we can get better recommendations as to what changes would be required and maybe create a paper on that. So thank you very much for coming. I'd like to particularly thank here Sandhya Sethi for hosting today's lunch. And so I'll hand over now to Vinita.
Can I request past President Mrs. Ranjana Agarwal to please come up on stage and felicitate Ms. Kaku Nakhate, President Bank of America, India. Got your food. And now I'm going to hand over to Naina to moderate the session.
Thank you. Big thank you to you, Archana, Vinita, for all the support that you provide into FICCI and FICCI Flow. And thank you so much for playing host for this event today. I can only see that it's the drawing power of FICCI Flow that has pulled together what is the largest number of contributors to date together, contributors to this book that I put together. Yeah. So we have two panels, not just one, as we have been having in most cities. Now, we have a pretty rushed schedule, and I do want to make sure that we can get through what is a superb panel that we have right before you right now. So what I'm going to do is just quickly throw out the 6 key success factors which I gleaned through the various contributions into the book. They're there in my summary chapter called The Sum and Substance in the front, and then leave it to our panelists, and we'll just go in the order in which we're sitting. So Kritika, just so that you have the 2 minutes forewarning, you're going to kick this off to comment on what you see as the key success factors and your sharings with the audience. So we will get comments from all the panel, a little discussion amongst us, and then leave the last 15 minutes for questions from you. Before we hand over to the next panel, which is to start sharp at 3 o'clock. So it's pretty rushed. So 6 keys to success. First and foremost, no surprise. Common thread through all the essays is that passion is essential. The only barometer that everyone uses, whether it's to sort out work-life balance, whether it is to excel at work, it is the passion for what you do. Then, interestingly, the point that ambition is not necessarily bad. It is ambition that can drive excellence. If ambition is channeled well, it's not about ambition that is cutthroat competition, that is trying to kill everyone in your way, but an ambition that drives you and your moral compass to excel at the highest level. Another interesting feature, and I think this is more women than men possibly, is the observation that humility is a hallmark of success. And you see this as a quality that the women all refer to, the fact that humility is important, and that humility gets reflected in terms of team play, the team spirit that women demonstrate, and the recognition that you can't be the only one that runs an organization. You need people around you with skill sets that supplement what you don't have, and recognition of that is part of the humility which many of the women have demonstrated through their essays. Integrity. This factor comes up again and again, in some cases in terms of the value and quality women have absorbed through family, but also in terms of a quality which they hold very dear to the way they work. And equally, in terms of the organization they picked. In fact, Avni talks about why she picked working with Tatas in terms of it aligning with the qualities that she held dearest to her heart. So it is questions and issues such as this that you should be absolutely asking of the panel. Again, no surprise to any of you, there are no shortcuts to hard work. Everyone talks about how hard they have had to work. In many cases, had to work harder than their male colleagues, and that may be more an indication of the times that were than the times to come, but I suppose that was an indication of discrimination as it existed, possibly still exists. Women believe they have to work harder than men to excel in the workplace for the same role and for the same outcomes. And then, I will use this as a quote, that only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. The recognition is that we will fail, but the way we deal with that failure is what leads to the next round of success. So these pearls are not my pearls of wisdom, they are the pearls of wisdom that the group here and the next panel will have shared through the book, through the chapters, but I just thought I would summarize them for you. So, over to Kritika.
Not working. Okay. No. Oh, I need to touch it. Such a pleasure to be here. I met many of you when I was here for Cheryl's event about a year ago, and it's great to be back in another landmark event, thanks to Naina. If I had to think about two factors of success, and I think this is just all of the different things said differently, one is about dreaming big. There was a McKinsey report that showed that of 4,000 people that they surveyed, 36% of men aspire to reach the C-suite. Take a guess, how many women aspire to be at the C level? A guess. 10, yeah? So it was 18. Exactly half of that. And there is no reason why half of the women need to aspire to be at the C level versus men. Another guess. Men apply for a job if they feel that they meet 60% of the criteria of what's listed. Women look for what percentage match when they feel that they're 100% HP survey. Yeah? So all of this just plays out. All of this just plays out. And if there's one thing that I would start with, it's about dreaming big. If your dreams don't scare you, you're not living up to your potential, and it combines the passion, it combines the ambition, part of what Naina spoke about. So that's one, dream big. The second thing that I'll give you is a superpower that I call the and. It's called the power of the and versus what's often taken as a tyranny of the or. Now, there are many situations that are presented as, I can do this or this. And consistently, I've found that if I challenge that, even for example, when I wanted to nurse my second child for a year and my job involved travel, and I said, okay, is this a point that everyone talks about